Sign it. I pushed the thin resignation letter across the desk toward Vanessa Gu. She did not even lift her eyes to look at it. Her gaze remained on the fashion magazine beside her hand, where the newest jewelry collection from a luxury brand filled the page. Ethan Jian, what game are you playing this time? Her voice was exactly like her personality, cold, distant, and beautifully polished. As if we were not husband and wife. As if we were two strangers with no relation at all. I looked at her calmly. I'm not playing a game. I'm serious. I want to resign. Only then did Vanessa finally lift her head from the magazine. Those beautiful eyes were filled with undisguised scrutiny and a trace of contempt. Resign? If you leave Gu Group, where can you go? Who do you think you are? I did not answer. I only pushed the resignation letter forward again. This is my decision. The early stage work for Project Star Sail is already complete. All technical routes and execution plans are in the files. Whoever takes over later can follow the steps and continue. Whoever takes over later? Vanessa looked as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. The corner of her mouth curved with sarcasm. You really think that mess of yours can be handled by anyone other than you? I believe President Gu has plenty of talent under her. The company will not stop running because one person leaves. My voice was calm. Not a single ripple. That calm seemed to anger her. Vanessa snapped the magazine shut with a loud crack. Ethan Jian, don't reject the face I'm giving you. I know what you're thinking. You're only acting like this because Blake came back, aren't you? You think your position is threatened. Blake Liang. Her childhood sweetheart. Her old lover, newly returned from overseas. I pulled the corner of my mouth into a faint, self-mocking smile. You're thinking too much. I'm thinking too much? Vanessa stood and looked down at me like a proud peacock. Let me tell you something. Even without you, Project Star Sail will succeed. Blake is 100 times better than you. He has advanced ideas and an international vision. Unlike you. Always acting like some dead, dull craftsman. I nodded as if I agreed. In that case, President Gu should approve my resignation even more. Vanessa choked on my attitude. Her chest rose and fell. She picked up a pen and almost viciously signed her name on the resignation letter. Ethan Jian, you will regret this. Without the Gu family as your tree, you are nothing. She threw the signed report back at me as if it were disgusting trash. I picked it up, carefully looked at her signature, then folded it and placed it in my pocket. Thank you, President Gu. I turned and walked toward the office door without the slightest hesitation. Stop. Her voice sounded behind me. I stopped, but did not turn. Starting today, Project Star Sail will be fully handled by Blake Liang. Go hand over all your work to him now. Remember. All of it. Not one needle missing. Fine. I softly gave one word and pulled open the heavy door. The atmosphere inside Project Star Sail's core meeting room was heavy. Vanessa sat at the head of the table, wearing an ambitious smile, as if she had just accomplished something extraordinary. Beside her sat a man in a custom suit, his hair combed perfectly. That man was Blake Liang. I sat at the very end of the table like an outsider. I called everyone here today to announce an important personnel change. Vanessa cleared her throat. Her gaze swept across everyone present before deliberately pausing on me for 1 second. There was a clear hint of showing off in her eyes. Due to personal reasons, Mr. Ethan Jian will no longer serve as the General Director of Project Star Sail. As soon as she finished, the room filled with suppressed gasps and whispers. Everyone looked at me in shock. Then, uneasily, at Vanessa. She was very satisfied with the effect. She raised her hand slightly. Quiet, everyone. Next, allow me to formally introduce the new director of Project Star Sail. Mr. Blake Liang. With a tone full of pride, she began listing Blake's dazzling resume. Mr. Liang graduated from MIT. He held important positions at several top Silicon Valley technology companies. He has rich project management experience and a forward-looking strategic vision. I believe that under his leadership, Project Star Sail will reach a brand new height. Blake stood and smiled gracefully at the room. His eyes carried the confidence and arrogance unique to a certain kind of elite. Hello, everyone. I'm Blake Liang. It is my honor to take over Project Star Sail. I've studied the project briefly. To be honest, some of the previous frameworks seem a little conservative to me. His first sentence denied 3 years of my work. Several core members of the project team immediately looked ugly. I believe we should introduce a more aggressive AI algorithm model and rebuild the entire underlying data architecture. That is the approach that truly fits future trends. Blake spoke fluently. Trendy technical terms kept falling from his mouth. Vanessa nodded again and again, admiration filling her eyes. I only listened quietly. I said nothing. Good. Starting now, Blake is your new leader. Vanessa spoke to me in a commanding tone. Ethan Jian, finish the handover properly. I will. I stood and bowed slightly to everyone. Thank you all for supporting me over the past 3 years. My handover files are ready. I will send them to each of you. I wish all of you, and Project Star Sail, a bright future. After saying that, I did not look at Vanessa or Blake again. I walked straight out of the meeting room. Behind me was a silence like death. There were not many things in my office. Several boxes full of technical materials and project notes. A thermos I had used for years. And a pothose plant that was not growing particularly well. I was packing books from the shelf one by one when someone knocked softly on the door. Ethan. It was Ryan Liu, the youngest and most talented structural engineer on the project team. He wore black-rimmed glasses. His eyes were full of anxiety and confusion. Ethan, what is going on? Why are you suddenly quitting? I paused and smiled at him. All banquets end eventually. I'm tired. I want to rest. Rest? Ryan's voice rose 8 degrees. He hurried to me, waving his arms in agitation. Project Starsail is about to enter the most critical phase too. How can you rest now? And that Blake Leong, he doesn't know shit. Clearly, he had been holding in anger during the meeting. All that stuff he said sounded flashy, but it's just castles in the air. Rebuild the underlying architecture? He makes it sound easy. Does he know how many nights we stayed up to build this stable, compatible architecture? Does he know how many fatal bugs we solved? I patted his shoulder, signaling him to calm down. Ryan, from now on, he is your superior. Don't say those things again. I can't help it. Ryan's eyes reddened. Ethan, you raised this project with your own hands. From a concept to what it is today. Every line of code. Every drawing. Your name is carved into everything. Now, why should an outsider come in and deny it all? Because he is the person President Gu invited. I said lightly. Ryan fell silent. Of course he knew about the relationship between Vanessa and Blake. Rumors had already spread inside the company. The anger on his face slowly turned into helplessness and sorrow. Then what about us? Are we really supposed to watch him ruin this project? This is 3 years of our work. I sealed the final box and straightened. Do your own job well. You are the best engineer. No matter who is in charge, your value will not be buried. But Ethan, Ryan wanted to say more. I interrupted him. This is my handover USB drive. It contains all core materials for Project Starsail and my work notes. More detailed than the version I'm giving the company. If the project really runs into a problem you cannot solve, take a look. I placed a black USB drive in his hand. This isn't exactly compliant. Ryan held the drive, his palms suddenly hot. Consider it the final insurance policy left by the former director of the project. I picked up my coat and took one last look at the office where I had fought through countless days and nights. I'm leaving. Take care. Inside Vanessa's president's office, champagne bubbles rose happily. Blake, congratulations. Vanessa lifted her glass. Her smile was bright. Her eyes held undisguised obsession and admiration for Blake. This is only the beginning. Blake clinked his glass lightly against hers. His posture was elegant. A confident smile rested on his lips. Vanessa, believe me. Within half a year, I will make Project Starsail the benchmark of the entire industry. I will let everyone know that I, Blake Leong, am the one who can lead Gu Group into the future. Of course I believe you. Vanessa's eyes blurred slightly. You don't know how long I've waited for this day. I was so tired of Ethan Jian's dead, lifeless face. He's like a block of wood. He never understands romance. He can never give me the passion I want. A craftsman who only knows how to bury his head in technical work. How could he ever compare to you? Blake gently swirled the liquid in his glass, his tone contemptuous. Kicking him out was the smartest decision you ever made. They smiled at each other and were just about to drink when the office door was suddenly pushed open. Vanessa's secretary rushed in, face drained of color. President Gu, something terrible happened. Vanessa's mood was interrupted. A trace of displeasure flashed across her face. What is wrong with you? Did the sky fall? It's party A. Victor Chin of Chin Group. His phone call. The secretary's voice trembled. Vanessa frowned. Victor Chin? Why is he calling? For normal project matters, let the lower departments handle it. No. The secretary looked close to tears. He said it's extremely important. He must speak to you immediately. He also said if he cannot reach you, you bear the consequences. Blake laughed from the side. Looks like Mr. Chin has quite a temper. Put him through. I also want to meet this major investor. Vanessa glared at the secretary, signaling her to connect the call and turn on speaker. She adjusted her expression and put on a professional smile. Hello, Mr. Chin. This is Vanessa Gu. A cold, furious voice came from the other end, as if holding back a thunderstorm. President Gu, I just heard that you unilaterally replaced the general director of Project Star Sail? Vanessa's heart tightened, but she forced herself to stay calm. Yes, Mr. Chin. For the project's better development, we hired a more professional. Before she could finish, Victor Chin cut her off harshly. I don't care who you hired. I only recognize Ethan Jian. The reason Chin Group invested in this project was because of Mr. Ethan Jian's proposal and ability. Victor's voice struck Vanessa and Blake's hearts like heavy hammers. Now you replaced him without a word. What exactly do you mean? Do you take Chin Group for fools? I warn you. Bring Ethan Jian back immediately. This project can only be operated by him. If he is replaced, our cooperation ends at once. More than that, we will hold you liable for breach of contract. Beep. 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 The phone was hung up hard. The office fell into dead silence. The smile froze on Vanessa's face. Color left her face bit by bit. The hand holding her champagne glass trembled. Blake's confident smile also froze. This is impossible, Vanessa murmured, unable to accept the sudden change. She turned sharply to Blake, hoping he could give an explanation. Blake, what is going on? He was only a project director. Why would they react so strongly? Blake's face also looked terrible. He forced down the shock and embarrassment in his heart, trying to maintain his elegance. Vanessa, don't panic. This may just be a pressure tactic. Maybe they have a personal relationship with Ethan. A pressure tactic? Vanessa's voice sharpened. Ending cooperation and demanding breach liability is a pressure tactic? Chin Group accounts for 60% of the project's investment. If they withdraw, Project Star Sail is finished. She immediately picked up the internal phone on her desk and called her secretary. Now. Connect me to Victor Chin's phone immediately. Seconds later, the call connected. Mr. Chin, this is Vanessa Gu. I think there may be some misunderstanding between us. Misunderstanding? There is no misunderstanding. Victor Chin's voice remained icy. Our position is clear. Ethan Jian returns, and the project continues. If he does not return, we meet in court. Mr. Chin, please listen. Our newly hired Mr. Blake Liang is a top expert in the industry. I don't care if his surname is Liang or Li. Victor interrupted again. I will say it one last time. What we invested in was Ethan Jian and his team. Gu Group, bluntly speaking, was only the platform we chose for cooperation. Now that you have kicked out the core person, what value does that platform still have to us? His words cut open every layer of Vanessa's pride and dignity. Do not call me again. My lawyers will contact you tomorrow morning. You have 20 minutes. If Mr. Ethan Jian is not back on the project by then, everything proceeds according to the contract. The phone was hung up again. Vanessa held the receiver, standing frozen. Her hands and feet were cold. Then she suddenly lifted her head. Anger and humiliation burned in her eyes. She grabbed her handbag and rushed out of the office. She drove all the way back to the house that was nominally ours. I had just placed the final box in the living room and was preparing to leave. Ethan Jian. Vanessa rushed in like a storm. Her heel struck the floor in angry, urgent beats. She grabbed my arm. Her nails nearly dug into my skin. What did you say to Victor Chin? Did you plan all of this long ago? I gently pulled my arm free and looked at her expressionlessly. I said nothing. From the moment I submitted my resignation, I have not contacted anyone from Chin Group. I don't believe you. Vanessa screamed hysterically. If you didn't do something, why would they suddenly attack us? Looking at her face twisted by anger, I almost found it laughable. President Gu, aren't you overestimating me? And underestimating Victor Chin? Is a decision made by a man like him something I can control? She choked. Then she took a deep breath, forced down her rage, and switched to a commanding tone. I don't care. Right now, you must come back to the company with me. Call Victor Chin immediately and tell him you are returning. Tell him not to withdraw funding. I slowly shook my head. Sorry, President Gu. I have already resigned. You. Vanessa's eyes widened instantly. She could not believe I dared refuse her. Ethan Jian, don't forget, you are my husband. You have to help me. Husband? I laughed softly. That laugh was full of endless sorrow. When you handed my work to your lover, did you remember I was your husband? The Gu family villa was brightly lit, but the atmosphere was so oppressive it almost suffocated. Vanessa had dragged me there by force. In the living room sat her parents, Howard Gu and Linda Lee. Howard was the founder of Gu Group. Although retired, his authority remained. Linda was a wealthy wife who had lived in comfort all her life. The moment Vanessa entered, she threw herself into Linda's arms and cried. Dad, Mom, you have to help me. Ethan wants to destroy the company. He wants to destroy me. Linda patted her daughter's back in distress. Then her sharp gaze shot toward me like a knife. Ethan Jian, you are really something. How has our Gu family wronged you? Why would you repay kindness with hatred? I stood in the center of the living room and did not speak. Howard heavily set his teacup onto the table. A dull thud sounded. Ethan, what is going on? I heard you resigned and got into trouble with Chin Group. His tone was calm enough. But the pressure beneath it could not be ignored. I raised my head and met his gaze. Dad, I did resign. As for Chin Group, President Gu's decision caused some misunderstanding. My decision? Vanessa immediately lifted her head from her mother's arms and pointed at me. You're lying. You were the one who wanted to resign irresponsibly. I brought Blake in to stabilize the project. What did I do wrong? Vanessa gave you a chance, and you still threw a tantrum? Linda immediately chimed in. Her voice was sour and sharp. Ethan Jian, don't forget where you came from. If Vanessa hadn't been blind enough to fall for you back then, and if my husband hadn't promoted you, who knows which construction site you would be carrying bricks on now? You should learn gratitude. I had heard words like this countless times over the past few years. Each time, they pierced my heart like needles. I remained silent and let the mother and daughter accuse me together. Howard frowned, seeming to feel that his wife's words were excessive. But he did not stop her. He looked at me and spoke deeply. Ethan, I know you feel wronged. But now is not the time for emotion. You know better than anyone how important Project Star Sail is to the company. We must stabilize Chin Group. He paused, softening his tone slightly. How about this? You return to the company tomorrow and pretend nothing happened. I will personally call Victor Chin and explain. This matter ends here. His words were not a discussion. They were a notice. In his eyes, he had already given me enormous face. Yes, Ethan. Linda put on a fake smile. You and Vanessa are husband and wife. A couple fights at the head of the bed and makes up at the end. The company belongs to both of you. You can't just watch something happen to it. Come on. Apologize to Vanessa, and we'll forget this. Their family cooperated flawlessly. One played good cop. One played bad cop. One fanned the flames. None of them cared what I felt. None of them cared that I had been humiliated. They only cared about company profit and the Gu family's face. I looked at them and suddenly felt endlessly tired. Finally, I spoke. My voice was not loud, but it reached everyone clearly. I will not return. And I want to divorce Vanessa. What did you say? Howard stood up abruptly, unable to believe his ears. Linda and Vanessa also froze, as if struck by lightning. Divorce? Ethan Jian, have you gone insane? Linda reacted first and screamed. What right do you have to mention divorce? You want to divide our Gu family's property? I tell you, impossible. I ignored her yelling. I only looked calmly at Howard. Dad, what kind of situation I have lived in within the Gu family and the company over these years you know better than anyone. I am tired. I do not want to live like this anymore. Howard's face darkened terribly. So you are using the company's future and Project Star sale to threaten us and force us to agree to your divorce? No, I shook my head. Resignation and divorce were decisions I made after careful thought. As for Project Star sale, that is GU Group's crisis. Not mine. Good. What a find, not mine. Howard laughed in anger. Ethan Jian, I truly underestimated you. You think GU Group cannot survive without you? You think Project Star sale cannot turn without you? He turned to Vanessa. Vanessa, tell him. Without the butcher Zhang, do we have to eat pigs with hair? Have Blake Liang immediately contact Qin Group's technical team with his proposal. I refuse to believe that an MIT graduate is inferior to a man who came up through an unorthodox path. Vanessa seemed to find her pillar again. She immediately took out her phone and called Blake. Blake, my father said you don't need to bother with Ethan anymore. Take your proposal to Qin Group's technical director immediately. Show them your professionalism. Make them understand you are 100 times better than Ethan Jian. Blake answered confidently over the phone. Don't worry, Vanessa. A bunch of domestic engineers? I can handle them in minutes. Wait for my good news. After hanging up, Vanessa's confidence returned. She looked at me with a cold smile. Ethan Jian, did you hear that? Soon you'll know you are not that important. When the time comes, don't come crying back to me. The next day, Blake Liang brought his carefully prepared presentation and overwhelming confidence to Qin Group. He thought his resume and eloquence would easily convince them. But the person he faced was Qin Group's technical director, a plain-looking middle-aged man wearing thick glasses. Blake spoke for half an hour. From artificial intelligence to blockchain. From big data to cloud computing. He described his proposal as if it were the future itself. After finishing, he looked at the other party proudly, waiting for praise. The technical director pushed up his glasses expressionlessly and said only one sentence. Mr. Liang, what you said sounds lively. But forgive me. It is all garbage we verified 10 years ago and eliminated because it was impractical. Blake's smile froze instantly. What did you say? I said your plan is flashy but hollow. It is full of loopholes and completely ignores the project's actual application scenarios and compatibility issues. The technical director stood and picked up a document. This is the original proposal submitted by Mr. Ethan Jian. Rigorous. Practical. Every detail carefully calculated and deduced. This was the foundation of our decision to invest. As for your thing, it is not even worthy of carrying his shoes. He threw the document in front of Blake. You may leave. And please tell President Gu that our patience is limited. Blake returned to GU Group like a man who had lost his soul. When he told Vanessa the result, her whole body collapsed into the chair. Late that night, the doorbell of my rented single apartment rang. I opened the door and saw a haggard Vanessa. Her former arrogance had disappeared. The expensive Chanel suit on her looked wrinkled. Her eyes were full of red veins. Can we talk? Her voice was hoarse, carrying fatigue and pleading. I stepped aside and let her in. The apartment was tiny. Compared with the villa I had lived in at the Gu family, it was practically a pigeon cage. Vanessa looked around. A trace of disgust flashed in her eyes, but she said nothing. She sat on the small sofa. Ethan, I admit I was wrong this time. She lowered her head, voice soft. I should not have acted impulsively. I should have considered your feelings. But we are husband and wife after all. You can't truly watch me, and the Gu family, fall into desperation, can you? She began playing the emotion card. I poured her a glass of water and placed it on the coffee table. President Gu, is there still any meaning in saying this now? Of course there is. She lifted her head and looked at me urgently. As long as you go back now, everything can still be fixed. If you explain to Qin Group, they will definitely listen. Once the project returns to your hands, the company can survive this. She paused as if making a difficult decision. As for Blake, I will make him leave the company. From now on, I promise he will never interfere with company matters again. I looked at her and suddenly laughed. Vanessa Gu, do you really think the problem between us is only Blake Liang? She froze. What else could it be? Husband and wife? I repeated the word she had used earlier, my tone full of sarcasm. President Gu, when you and Mr. Liang shared a candlelit dinner beside the Seine in Paris, did you remember we were husband and wife? Vanessa's face turned deathly white. How do you know? She had gone to Paris last month under the excuse of a market inspection. You also gave him a pair of lapis lazuli cufflinks as a gift for his return, correct? I continued. Every word nailed into her heart. Her body began trembling. The way she looked at me was full of fear and shock. You investigated me? Ethan Jian, you sent someone to follow me? Her voice sharpened like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. I shook my head. I'm not that bored. I just happen to know the designer who customized Mr. Liang's cufflinks. Vanessa's lips moved. Not one word came out. At that moment, all her disguise and pride were torn apart by me. So I had known everything. I had merely been enduring it. So you planned this all along? You used this to get revenge on me, didn't you? She suddenly laughed coldly, her eyes full of venom. Your resignation. Qin Group attacking us. All of it was a trap you designed. Ethan Jian, you really are scheming. Looking at how she refused to repent and instead blamed me, the final trace of warmth in my heart disappeared. You may think so. I stood and opened the apartment door. It's late, President Gu. Please leave. My divorce agreement will be delivered to your office tomorrow by my lawyer. Under rumors that Qin Group was about to withdraw, Gu Group's stock hit limit down for 2 consecutive days. At the company's emergency board meeting, the atmosphere was heavy to the extreme. The directors who usually flattered Vanessa now all wore cold expressions. Their eyes were full of doubt and dissatisfaction. President Gu, what exactly is going on? Why did Project Star sales suddenly stop? Why is Qin Group demanding termination? Director Wang, an old director who held 5% of the company's shares, attacked first. Director Wang, this is only a temporary technical adjustment. There was also a small communication misunderstanding with Party A. It will be resolved soon. Vanessa's face was pale, but she still forced herself to hold on. A small misunderstanding? Another director sneered and slapped a newspaper onto the table. It's already on the financial headlines. They say we changed generals right before battle, angered the investor, and now face enormous damages. How much has the stock price fallen? If this continues, the company will be destroyed by you. Exactly. Project Star Sale was built by Ethan Jian alone. You replaced him just because you wanted to. Did the board approve it? What do you take us shareholders for? And who exactly is Blake Liang? I checked. His resume looks pretty, but it is all paper talk. He has never independently operated a project of this scale. The accusations rose one after another, surging toward Vanessa like waves. She was trapped in the center, unable to defend herself. Enough. Vanessa slammed the table and stood. I am the president of the company. I have the right to appoint and dismiss personnel. Ethan Jian chose to resign himself. Was I supposed to kneel and beg him to stay? Why did he resign? Director Wang pressed sharply. Was it because you brought your lover into the company and wanted him to steal Ethan's project? Vanessa Gu, do not mix private affairs with company business. Vanessa's face flushed, then paled. Her sore spot had been struck. You're talking nonsense. Nonsense? The whole company is already talking about it. Director Wang fired back mercilessly. Right now, we don't care about your private life. We care about the company's survival. Qin Group's final ultimatum is tomorrow morning. If Ethan Jian has not returned to the project by then, everything will be over. He looked around at the other directors. I propose we immediately establish a crisis response team led by me. We will bypass the president and communicate directly with Ethan Jian and Qin Group. I agree. I agree too. The directors raised their hands one after another. Passed unanimously. This was no different from publicly stripping Vanessa of power and suspending her. At last, Director Wang looked at Vanessa, whose face was now gray-white, and gave the final ultimatum. President Gu, the board will give you one final 24 hours. If you cannot bring Ethan Jian back and stabilize Qin Group, we will call an extraordinary shareholders meeting to discuss removing you as president. For the future of Gu Group, we have no other choice. The conference room door opened. The directors filed out. No one looked at Vanessa again. In the empty meeting room, only she remained. She collapsed weakly into the chair, eyes full of despair. I did not expect Vanessa to come looking for me again. And in a posture I had never seen before. She did not drive her showy red Ferrari. She came by taxi. She wore a simple white shirt and jeans. No makeup. She looked haggard and helpless. She stood downstairs from my apartment instead of coming up, then called me. I'll give you money. The moment I answered, she went straight to the point. As long as you return to the company and temporarily stabilize Victor Chin, I can give you a sum of money. An amount you could never earn in your life. I leaned by the window, looking down at her small figure below. Vanessa, do you still think this is about money? I know it isn't. Her voice carried tears. I know I wronged you. I know I'm awful. But please, Ethan, help me just this once. The board is about to remove me. If I lose the president's position, my whole life is over. I said nothing. My silence seemed to be mistaken by her as hesitation. She anxiously raised the stakes. 50 million. I'll personally give you 50 million. As long as you go back and take over the project again. Once the project stabilizes, if you want to leave, I won't stop you. I'll agree to the divorce too. I can even give you more in the property division. How about that? 50 million. To an ordinary person, it was indeed astronomical. Unfortunately, I was not ordinary. Or rather, what I wanted had never been money. No need. I rejected her lightly. My refusal was the final straw, crushing her humiliation and anger. Her voice instantly turned sharp and vicious, returning to its true nature. Ethan Jian, don't reject the face I'm giving you. Do you really think I must have you? Why are you pretending to be noble? 50 million and you don't even want it? What do you want? The entire Gu Group? Do you deserve it? She began firing the most poisonous words at me like arrows. I'm telling you. You are nothing but a poor boy my father picked up from a construction site. The money for your university came from the Gu family. Without Gu family, you would be nothing. Everything you have now was given to you by us. I let you be the husband of a president because I was lifting you up. And now you dare bite back? You are an ungrateful dog that can never be fed. I quietly listened to the roaring on the other end. My heart was cold. No anger. Only sorrow deep into the bone. So in her heart, I had never been her husband. I was only an object her father picked up. Something that could be used and discarded. All my effort. All my contributions. In her eyes, they were merely repayment I naturally owed. Finished? Only when she cursed until she was tired and panting did I speak slowly. Finished. Good. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. Outside the window, night was black as ink. This 5-year marriage. This glamorous-looking wealthy fairy tale. At that moment, it finally came to an end. The next morning, I did not receive Vanessa's apology. Instead, I received an unexpected visitor. In the private room of a high-end CAF, a woman in a sharp professional suit sat opposite me. She looked about 30. Elegant. Sharp-eyed. She introduced herself as Serena Su. Mr. Jian, I apologize for the sudden visit. Serena handed me a business card. Her title read, Investment Director, Dawn Capital. Dawn Capital? I was a little surprised. It was a top venture capital firm known in the industry for ruthless vision and aggressive methods. Miss Su, what brings you to me? Serena smiled slightly. Her smile carried confidence, as if everything was under control. Our boss is very interested in you, Mr. Jian. She paused, observing my reaction. We have been following Project Star Sail. To be honest, what we were following was not the project itself. It was the person running it. Your original project concept is a work of genius. You flatter me. I said calmly. No, I am not exaggerating. Serena's eyes were sincere. We know you recently left Gu Group. So, on behalf of Dawn Capital, I would like to formally extend an invitation. She pushed a file toward me. We hope you can lead us in restarting a project similar to Project Star Sail. Or rather, a project more ambitious and imaginative than Star Sail. Capital, team, resources, everything will be provided by us. You only need to bring your wisdom and mind. I opened the file and saw a number that even startled me. Dawn Capital's planned starting funds were twice what Chin Group had originally invested in Gu Group. And they were willing to give me 20% of the original equity. It was an offer difficult to refuse. Why me? I closed the file and looked at Serena. Because we invest only in the very best talent. Her answer was flawless. Mr. Jian, a shallow pool like Gu Group cannot hold a dragon like you. We know you are handling some personal matters right now. That is fine. We can wait. This letter of intent remains valid at any time. She stood and extended her hand. I hope we will have the opportunity to cooperate. Also, a friendly reminder. Your former employer may be in serious trouble soon. I shook her hand. Thank you. After seeing Serena off, I did not leave immediately. I dialed another number. One I had not contacted in a long time. Hello, Lawyer Zhou? It's me, Ethan Jian. A steady voice came from the other end. Mr. Jian, hello. The divorce agreement I previously asked you to prepare can be activated. In addition, regarding marital property division, I need you to investigate whether Vanessa Gu, over the past 2 years, made investments under the company's name that were actually used for personal spending or benefits for others. Lawyer Zhou was silent for several seconds. Mr. Jian, are you sure you want to do this? This may make your divorce extremely complicated. It may even lead to court. I looked out the window at the glaring sunlight. I'm sure. Since she believes everything I have was gifted by the Gu family, I will let her see exactly what I can take from the Gu family. Qin Group's final ultimatum arrived. Gu Group did not wait for my return. Instead, it received a sharply worded lawyer's letter. Qin Group officially notified Gu Group that it was unilaterally terminating all cooperation on Project Star Sale. It would also initiate legal proceedings and claim sky-high damages of 3 billion yuan due to Gu Group's unilateral breach, replacing the core person in charge and causing the project to stall. The news exploded across the market. Gu Group's stock immediately plunged. Less than 10 minutes after opening, it was smashed straight to limit down. Countless sell orders sealed the board with no buyers. The company's phones were almost blasted apart. Investors, shareholders, partner banks, suppliers. Everyone rushed in like sharks smelling blood, demanding explanations and repayment. Vanessa locked herself in her office, staring at the cliff-like green line on her computer screen, her whole body ice cold. 3 billion. The number pressed on her like a mountain. The total investment in Project Star Sale was only 10 billion. Qin Group demanding 3 billion in compensation was basically pushing Gu Group toward death. Worse, Star Sale's termination triggered a chain reaction. The banks that had issued loans for the project immediately came knocking, demanding early repayment. Otherwise, they would seize collateral assets. Several downstream partners who had already signed contracts also sent termination letters. When a wall falls, everyone pushes. Gu Group, once glorious, had fallen into danger from every side within a single day. Howard Gu could no longer sit still. He rushed into Vanessa's office, pointing at her nose, shaking with anger. Look at what you've done. Look. I gave you the company so you could take it to a higher level, not push it into a fire pit. Vanessa lifted her head, eyes empty. Dad, I didn't know things would become like this. You didn't know? Howard slapped her across the face. It was the first time he had ever hit her. Vanessa held her face, stunned. For a man, you destroyed decades of Gu family foundation. Who do you think you can face? Can you face me? Can you face the old employees who followed us for decades? Howard was heartbroken, pounding his chest. What do we do now? Tell me. What now? 3 billion in compensation. What do we use to pay? The company's available cash is not even 1 billion. Vanessa's tears finally fell. Dad, we can go find Ethan, we can beg him, as long as he steps forward, as long as he says one word to Qin Group, maybe there is still a chance. At this point, the only lifeline she could think of was still me. Beg him? Howard laughed miserably. You hurt him that badly. You used the most vicious words against him. Do you think he will still help you? Vanessa, you are truly foolish. He seemed to age 10 years in an instant and collapsed weakly onto the sofa. It's over. The Gu family is truly finished this time. Gu Group's crisis gave Blake Leong what he thought was the perfect chance to prove himself. When Vanessa and Howard were both helpless, he volunteered to propose a new plan at the board meeting to turn the tide. Directors, I know the company is facing serious difficulty right now. Blake stood in the center of the meeting room, full of spirit, as if he were the savior. Qin Group's withdrawal is indeed a blow. But crisis also contains opportunity. I believe this is the perfect moment for us to escape dependence on a single project and a single investor. He opened a PowerPoint presentation he had rushed overnight. It was full of flashy animations and trendy keywords. I propose we abandon the traditional Project Star Sale and launch an entirely new project, Quantum Leap. We will fully embrace Web 3.0 and the metaverse. We will build a brand new digital ecosystem platform. The potential of this project will be 10 times, even 100 times greater than Project Star Sail. He spoke passionately. But the directors below remained expressionless. Some even showed open mockery. Mr. Liang. Director Wang spoke coldly. What you are saying sounds beautiful. But I have one question. Where does the funding come from? Right now, the company cannot even pay Qin Group's compensation. Where do we get money for this quantum leap? Blake had clearly prepared for this. Of course I considered funding. We can sell some non-core assets. In addition, I will use my Wall Street connections to introduce new strategic investors. Is that so? A voice sounded from the corner. It was Ryan Liu. As a core representative of the project team, he had also been allowed to attend the meeting. He stood with a printed file in his hand. Director Liang, may I ask something? In your quantum leap plan, the data model you cited for core server computing support, does it come from this paper published online in Nature last year? Blake froze. Clearly, he had not expected a small engineer to question him publicly. Yes, so what? That is currently one of the most advanced theories. Then do you know? Ryan's voice suddenly rose. Last month, that paper was proven to have falsified core data. The author was expelled from his university for academic misconduct. Your so-called most advanced theory is a complete scam. Ryan slammed the file onto the table. The entire meeting room erupted. Every director looked at Blake as if he were a fraud. Blake's face instantly turned the color of liver. You're lying. This is slander. Lying? Ryan sneered and turned on the meeting room projector. On the screen appeared the retraction statement from Nature's website and news of the professor's downfall. The evidence was solid. Impossible to refute. Blake Liang. Director Wang roared and stood. You dared use a debunked scam to fool us? Do you take the whole board for idiots? I didn't know, Blake stammered, cold sweat pouring down. He had merely found a paper online that looked high-end to package his proposal. He had never conducted due diligence. You didn't know? You think one sentence can solve this? Security. Howard's voice trembled. Throw this fraud out. Under the contempt and disgust of everyone present, Blake was dragged out of the meeting room by 2 security guards. His elite persona shattered into pieces. After Blake was publicly humiliated, Howard finally recognized reality. The only person who could save Gu Group now was me. He called me personally. Over the phone, his former authority was gone. His voice sounded old and exhausted. Ethan, I'm sorry. The Gu family is sorry. It was the first time in all the years I had known him that he used a tone close to apology with me. Let's not mention the past. Come back. The company cannot survive without you. I did not answer immediately. On the other end, Howard seemed anxious. I know you are angry. Vanessa, I spoiled her from childhood. She acts without considering consequences. I have already punished her severely. He sighed. As for her and that Liang boy, to be honest, I had heard some rumors long ago. I only kept thinking she would handle it herself. That she would come to her senses. As her father, I failed. He actually admitted that he knew about Vanessa's affair. That surprised me slightly. Ethan, as long as you are willing to return, you may name any condition. He threw out his final bargaining chip. Shares. The president's position. Whatever you want, I can give it. I am old now. I see clearly. This company will eventually need to be handed to someone capable. His words sounded sincere. If this had been a month earlier, perhaps I would have been moved. Perhaps I would have wavered. But now, I would not. Dad, thank you for your kindness. I spoke slowly. But my return is no longer about conditions. Then what is it about? Trust. I said. Once a mirror breaks, even if you glue it back together, the cracks remain forever. Vanessa and I, the Gu family and I, we cannot go back. Howard was silent for a long time. So you are determined to divorce? Yes. My answer did not hesitate. Good, Howard's voice was full of helplessness. Since you have decided, I will not force you. But Ethan, for the sake of the regard I once showed you, and for the innocent employees still in the company, can you help the company one final time? Speak one word to Qin Group. As long as they withdraw the lawsuit or at least delay enforcement and give the company a breath. Consider it, me begging you. A once dominant business giant used the word beg to ask a son-in-law his family had humiliated and abandoned. How ironic. I will consider it. I neither agreed nor refused. After hanging up, I watched the traffic outside and fell into thought. I was not a saint. I could not repay hatred with virtue. But I was not someone who enjoyed destroying everything either. Perhaps it was time to make a final settlement. I had not told Vanessa the full truth about the lapis lazuli cufflinks. The designer who made Blake's cufflinks was indeed my friend. But she had told me far more than that. Her name was Linda Lynn, a somewhat famous independent jewelry designer. That day, she called me with a strange tone. "Ethan, I think I saw your wife." "Where?" "At my studio. She came with a man. That man ordered a pair of cufflinks from me." Linda described his appearance and temperament, and I immediately guessed it was Blake Leong. The key point is, he didn't just order cufflinks. He also ordered a matching necklace. He said it was for the most important person in his life. Linda paused, as if choosing her words. "I looked at your wife Vanessa. The way she looked at that man was not ordinary. And she personally chose the style of the necklace. The strangest part was that when they paid, they did not use a personal card. They used a company card. The card header was GU Group." As a matter of professional habit, Linda was very sensitive to details. At the time, I felt something was wrong. Using company money to buy such private expensive gifts, is that compliant? After the call, I did not expose anything. I simply remembered it. That was only the tip of the iceberg. Through Ryan and other old subordinates inside GU Group who still stood with me, I gradually obtained even more shocking evidence. Over the past 2 years, Vanessa had used her authority as president to create several unclear projects under the names of market inspections, overseas mergers, and acquisition work. The funds from these projects eventually flowed into shell companies, or directly became overseas mansions, sports cars, and luxury goods for her and Blake. Several of Blake's so-called overseas investments had suffered major losses. Those losses were quietly filled through GU Group accounts. Vanessa thought everything was flawless. But she forgot something. I had once been one of the company's core managers. I understood GU Group's financial system and approval process inside out. More importantly, she forgot the human heart is made of flesh. During the years I worked diligently at the company, what I earned was not only performance. I also earned people's hearts. The subordinates I had once promoted and helped chose to stand on my side when I was down. They risked being fired to collect every piece of evidence for me. Every piece was heavy enough to crush Vanessa. I had not released them earlier, not because I was soft-hearted. I was waiting for the right moment. Now, the moment had arrived. I gave those materials and my divorce agreement to Lawyer Zhou. "Lawyer Zhou, I trust you know what to do." I agreed to meet Howard. We chose a quiet tea house near GU Group. Howard looked even older than he had sounded over the phone. There seemed to be more white hair at his temples. "Ethan, you came." Seeing me, he struggled to stand. I pressed him down. "Dad, sit." That word, Dad, instantly reddened Howard's eyes. He waved the tea master out, leaving only the two of us in the private room. "You know the company's situation, right?" He went straight to the point, voice hoarse. I nodded. "Banks are withdrawing loans. Suppliers are demanding payment. The stock is falling like a landslide. If nothing changes, within 1 week, GU Group will have to apply for bankruptcy protection." He lifted his teacup, but his hand trembled so badly that tea spilled out. "I asked you here today not to beg you to change your heart. I only want to know what it will take for you to let the GU family go." His posture was extremely low. I looked at him calmly. "Dad, I never wanted to push the GU family to death. From beginning to end, I wanted only 2 things. Fairness. And respect." I took the divorce agreement from my briefcase and placed it before him. "These are my divorce terms. Very simple." Howard put on reading glasses and picked up the file. When he saw the clauses, his pupils shrank. "You want 15% of GU Group's shares?" His voice trembled. Though GU Group was in crisis, a starving camel was still larger than a horse. 15%, by market value, remained astronomical. Impossible. He refused instinctively. "Ethan, this is asking far too much." I did not argue. I only pushed another file toward him. "Dad, read this first. Then decide whether I am asking too much." Inside that file was all the evidence Lawyer Zhou had organized regarding Vanessa's use of authority to hollow out company assets. Every fund destination. Every false invoice. Every forged contract. All clear. All undeniable. Howard flipped page by page. His face went from red to white, from white to green, and finally to ash. The hand holding the file trembled like leaves in autumn wind. That wicked daughter. He forced the words through his teeth. His breath caught, and he began coughing violently. I silently handed him a cup of warm water. Dad, if this evidence is handed to economic crime investigators, or revealed at a shareholders' meeting, Vanessa will face far more than losing the president's position. My voice was light. But its weight was mountain heavy. Howard understood. Occupational embezzlement. Misuse of company funds. Such a massive amount. Enough to send her to prison for the second half of her life. He closed his eyes. Pain and struggle covered his face. After a long time, he opened them again, as if making an extremely difficult decision. Fine. He gave one word. I agree. 15% of the shares. I will give them to you. Vanessa was in her office when she received Howard's call. When she heard that her father had agreed to my plundering divorce agreement, she went mad. Dad! Are you insane? 15% of the shares. Do you know how much money that is? How could you agree? That is Gu family money. Why should it be given to him? He is an outsider. A poor man. What right does he have? On the other end, Howard's voice was tired and cold. He has evidence that can ruin your reputation and even send you to prison. Vanessa's heart sank violently. Evidence? What evidence? I don't know what you're talking about. She was still being stubborn. You don't know? Howard laughed coldly. The overseas properties you and Blake bought. The investment holes you filled for him under the company's name. Did you truly think no one knew? Vanessa's mind buzzed and went blank. She could not understand how Ethan Jian had discovered things she believed were flawless. Vanessa, you disappoint me too much. Howard's voice was full of grief. Now we have no other choice. Either agree to his terms and spend money to avoid disaster, or wait for the police to come. After hanging up, Vanessa sat in the chair like her soul had left her body. She was unwilling. She was unconvinced. She could not accept losing so completely to the man she had always looked down on. Anger and humiliation ate her heart like poisonous snakes. She grabbed her car keys and rushed out. She found me downstairs from my rented apartment. Blocking my path, she screamed, "Ethan Jian, you despicable, shameless villain." Her eyes were red, like a trapped beast. You investigated me. You used dirty methods to threaten me and my father. I looked at her calmly. Vanessa, if you hadn't gone so far first, why would I have reached this step? Don't even think about it. She screamed. You won't take a single cent of Gu family property. I tell you, even if we both die, I will not let you win. Then she suddenly laughed coldly. Her eyes became crazed and vicious. You want to stay in this industry, don't you? You want to rise again? Let me tell you. As long as I, Vanessa Gu, still draw breath, I will make sure you never find another job in this industry. I will tell everyone you are an ungrateful extortionist. I will ruin your name. I will make you a rat everyone wants to beat. Let's see who dares hire you. Let's see who dares invest in you. This was her final and most vicious threat. She wanted to destroy my career. Destroy my life. Looking at her madness, I felt no anger. Only pity. Even now, she still did not understand. Her true enemy had never been me. It was her own arrogance, stupidity, and greed. Facing Vanessa's threat, I only looked at her lightly. Then I took out my phone from my briefcase. I pressed play. Her hysterical roar came from the speaker. As long as I, Vanessa Gu, still draw breath, I will make sure you never find another job in this industry. I will ruin your name. The recording was perfectly clear. Vanessa's face turned from red to white in an instant. You recorded that? She stammered, her voice full of disbelief and panic. I turned off the recording and placed the phone back into my pocket. Vanessa, I'm only protecting myself. I spoke calmly. If I hand that recording to the media, or to investment firms like Dawn Capital, who do you think people will believe? One side is the ex-husband kicked out by his wife and her lover, then threatened with career destruction. The other is a vicious woman who emptied company money for her lover, destroyed her family business, and still tried to shift blame. Which side do you think the public and capital will stand on? Every word struck Vanessa like a hammer. She panicked completely. She knew that if this recording was exposed, she would truly be finished. She would not only lose the president's position and the Gu family's assets. She would lose the reputation and face she valued most. She would become a joke in the entire upper class. What do you want? Her voice shook. The arrogance from moments ago vanished. I don't want much. I looked at her, speaking word by word. I only want what I deserve. Sign the divorce agreement. Transfer the shares to me. Then we owe each other nothing. And we never meet again. I took out another file I had prepared. This is the only photocopy of the evidence I have regarding your embezzlement of company funds. I deliberately stressed the word only. As long as you sign, this copy, along with the originals in my possession and the recording just now, will be destroyed by me in front of you. This is my final sincerity. And your final chance. I handed her the document and a pen. Vanessa looked at the file. Then at me. Her eyes were filled with complicated emotions. Unwillingness. Hatred. Humiliation. But most of all, fear. She knew she had no other choice. The cards I had revealed completely blocked every path. She was like a gambler who had lost every chip. In the end, with trembling hands, she took the pen. The final negotiation took place at Lawyer Zhou's office. Howard Gu, Vanessa Gu, and I sat in the meeting room. The atmosphere was heavy. Vanessa's eyes were swollen red. Clearly, she had cried for a long time. Howard looked exhausted and desolate. Lawyer Zhou placed the formal divorce agreement and equity transfer agreement before them. Mr. Gu, Miss Gu, if there are no objections to the agreement, you may sign. Howard picked up the agreement, looked at it one final time, then sighed heavily. He signed his name where he needed to act as guarantor. Then it was Vanessa's turn. She stared at the agreement as if trying to burn a hole through it. Her hand gripped the pen so hard her knuckles turned white. I knew making her sign was no different from making her cut flesh from her own body. But she had no choice. After a long silence and struggle, she finally gave in. She picked up the pen and quickly signed the 2 characters of her name. Vanessa Gu. The handwriting was messy and full of anger. After signing, she threw the pen onto the table and stood. Without saying a word, she left the meeting room. From beginning to end, she did not look at me again. Howard watched his daughter leave, a bitter smile on his face. He stood and walked to me. Ethan, the matter is finished. I hope you keep your promise. I nodded. From my briefcase, I took out the USB drive containing all the evidence and recordings, along with the photocopy. In front of Howard, I threw everything into the shredder beside us. Watching the paper and plastic pieces ground into powder, Howard's tense body finally relaxed. Thank you. He said it sincerely. From now on, take care of yourself. He patted my shoulder, then turned and left. His back looked incomparably lonely and aged. Only Lawyer Zhou and I remained in the meeting room. Mr. Jian, congratulations. Lawyer Zhou extended his hand. I shook it. But there was not much joy on my face. I had won this war. But the victory was not light. I walked out of the law firm. The sunlight outside was a little blinding. My phone rang. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Hello, is this Mr. Ethan Jian? A familiar, powerful voice came from the other end. Victor Qin. Mr. Qin? I was slightly surprised. Mr. Jian, I heard you have completely separated from Gu Group. His information was truly fast. Yes. That's wonderful. Victor sounded pleased. We would like to speak with you. No, to be precise, we would like to cooperate with you. My meeting with Victor Qin was scheduled in the reception room at the top of his company building. From there, one could overlook the entire city. Victor Qin looked younger in person than over the phone. He wore a tailored suit, eyes sharp, presence powerful. Mr. Jian, please sit. He personally poured me tea. First, I want to apologize for the trouble we caused you earlier. He was referring to Qin Group's attack on Gu Group, which had dragged me into public discussion. Mr. Qin, that's too serious. You were merely protecting your legal rights. Victor smiled. Mr. Jian speaks frankly, so I will not circle around either. He leaned forward slightly, looking at me. To be honest, 90% of the reason we originally invested in Gu Group's Project Star Sale was you. What we valued was your technical plan, your execution ability, and your precise judgment of this industry's future. As for Gu Group, to us, it was merely a platform carrying your ideas. His words were exactly the same as what he had said over the phone. Now this platform has collapsed because of several foolish reasons. But our confidence in you has not changed. Our expectation for Project Starsail's future also remains. I listened quietly without interrupting. So, we would like to invite you to continue this plan with us. Victor finally stated his purpose. As for Goo Group, we will withdraw the lawsuit and reach a settlement with them. They no longer have the ability or qualification to participate in this project. We will establish a brand new company fully controlled by Qin Group. And you, Mr. Jian, will serve as founding partner and CEO. You will have full authority over the new company's operations and the advancement of Project Starsail. He looked at me with burning eyes. We will provide stronger capital support than Goo Group, broader resources, and more complete respect and trust. We will not interfere with any of your technical decisions or personnel arrangements. What you need to do is turn your blueprint into reality. This was an enormous temptation. A perfect chance to rise again, even to a height I had never reached before. Victor saw that I was moved and added the final flame. Mr. Jian, I know Dawn Capital also contacted you. My heart jumped. He even knew this. Dawn is a pure financial investor. They pursue short-term high returns. For profit, they may force you to do things against your original intention. But we are different. Qin Group is an industrial investor. We value long-term strategic value. Project Starsail is extremely important to our group's future energy layout. So our goals align. He extended his hand. Mr. Jian, make the right choice. Join us and create an era that belongs to you. I looked into his sincere, forceful eyes. This time, I did not hesitate. I stood and firmly shook his hand. Mr. Qin, happy cooperation. The new company was established with unusual speed. We named it New Sail Technology. It symbolized the rebirth of Project Starsail. And that our cause would raise new sails. The office was located in the city's central CBD. An entire floor of a super grade A office building. Modern and impressive. Qin Group's funds arrived in full on the day the company was founded. The first thing I did was call Ryan Liu. Ryan, it's me. Ethan. Ryan's voice was full of surprise. I saw the news. You're working with Qin Group. That's amazing. I need you. I did not waste words. I am officially inviting you to join New Sail Technology as Chief Structural Engineer. Your salary will be triple what Goo Group pays you. The other end fell silent. I thought he was hesitating. What is it? Any difficulty? No. No difficulty. Ryan's voice carried a trace of choking emotion. Ethan, I waited for your call for a long time. I'll resign immediately. Not just you. I smiled. Bring every capable brother from the old Starsail team whom you trust. Tell them New Sail Technology welcomes them. Positions and salaries are negotiable. Really? Ryan was so excited he nearly jumped. Ever since you left and that Liang guy came in, the brothers have been suffocating. They wanted to quit long ago. I'll tell them now. The next day, Goo Group's HR department witnessed a dramatic scene. More than 20 core technical members of the original Starsail team, led by Ryan Liu, collectively submitted resignation letters on the same day. This time, Goo Group was completely stunned. Although Project Starsail had been terminated, that team was the foundation of the company's technical department. Once they left, half of Goo Group's R&D system was basically paralyzed. Howard Goo personally tried to keep them, promising raises and promotions. Not a single person wavered. Sorry, Chairman Goo. We only want to follow Mr. Jian. That was the only sentence they left behind. 1 week later, inside New Sail Technology's spacious, bright office, I saw my old team again. They looked at me with excitement and trust. I looked at them and felt endless emotion. Welcome home. I said only those 4 words. Thunderous applause filled the office. I knew that from this moment, my career and my life had opened a brand new chapter. The collective departure of the core team became another straw-crushing Goo Group. After a brief period of stability, the company's stock began falling again. More fatally, after losing the core technical team, several of Goo Group's other R&D projects also fell into stagnation. Under internal and external pressure, the board could no longer tolerate Vanessa. At an extraordinary shareholders' meeting, the motion to remove Vanessa from the president position passed by a large majority. Vanessa handed over the key to her office in defeat. Under the complicated gazes of employees, she left sadly. Everything she had worked so hard to build, her power, status, and pride, turned to nothing within 1 month. To stabilize the situation, retired Howard Gu had no choice but to return and take the chairman position again. But Gu Group was now a broken mess full of holes. The end of Project Starsail destroyed its credibility. The loss of the core team seriously wounded its vitality. Howard exhausted all his connections and resources, begging everywhere, before barely securing a life support loan from the banks. It temporarily avoided bankruptcy. But he knew this was only drinking poison to quench thirst. Gu Group, having lost its core competitiveness, no longer had a future. Its best ending would be struggling for a few more years before being acquired and swallowed by another company. The dusk of a business empire had arrived. And Vanessa, the one who started everything, locked herself inside the house after losing all her glory. She cried every day. She could not understand why things had become like this. She blamed everything on me and Blake. She hated me for my betrayal and revenge. She also hated Blake for his incompetence and deception. She called Blake, wanting him to take responsibility for everything. But his number had already become invalid. That man, who had whispered sweet words and sworn promises when she was powerful, chose to disappear the moment she fell. He took the final sum of money Vanessa had secretly transferred to him and fled overseas. From then on, there was no news. Only then did Vanessa taste what it meant to be abandoned by everyone. The love she treasured. The man she trusted. In the end, all of it was a joke. A false dream built on money and power. One weekend afternoon, I received a call from Howard. He invited me to meet at the same tea house. When I saw him again, I almost did not recognize him. In barely a month, he seemed to have aged 10 years. His hair had turned completely white. His back had bent. The spirit he once had was gone. "Ethan, sit." Even his voice sounded weak. We sat across from each other and stayed silent for a long time. New sale technology has been very strong lately. Finally, he spoke first. His tone carried envy and bitterness difficult to describe. "That is Mr. Chen's and the team's credit," I said modestly. "No," Howard shook his head. "It is you. I know it is you. I was not wrong about you back then." Unfortunately, he sighed for a very long time. That sigh carried too much regret and helplessness. "I failed to educate my daughter. I failed to see clearly. I forced a general into becoming my opponent." He lifted his teacup and toasted me with tea instead of wine. "This cup is to you. And on behalf of Vanessa, I apologize." He drank the tea in one swallow. I did not move. "Dad, let the past stay in the past. It cannot pass." Howard smiled miserably. "You know Gu Group's situation. People outside say we may not survive this winter." He looked at me with a trace of pleading. "Ethan, I know I have no right to ask you for anything anymore. But I still have the nerve to ask you, please show mercy. Gu Group cannot withstand any storm now. Especially a storm from new sale technology." I understood. He was afraid I would use new sales advantage to completely destroy Gu Group through commercial revenge. Looking at his old, pleading face, mixed feelings filled my chest. Although the Gu family had been cruel to me, Howard had once promoted me. And my goal had never been destroying Gu Group. "Dad, don't worry." I spoke slowly. "In terms of business, new sale technology and Gu Group are no longer opponents on the same level. We have our stars and ocean. We will not stare at your small piece of land. Business has business rules. I will not actively attack Gu Group. As long as Gu Group does not provoke us, we will stay in our separate waters." That was my promise. Hearing it, Howard's tense body finally relaxed completely. His eyes grew wet again. "Thank you, Ethan. Thank you." He stood and bowed deeply to me. I quickly stood to support him. "Dad, what are you doing?" I should. He straightened, his face showing a faint relieved smile. "With your word, I can rest. As for Gu Group's future life or death, let fate decide. I should truly let go too." Blake Liang's fate came faster and worse than I expected. After fleeing overseas with the money, he thought he could live freely and continue his upper-class elite life. But he was too naive. The people he offended were not just the Gu family. There was also Chen Group. And Dawn Capital. I had no idea where Serena Sue got information about Blake's hiding place abroad. She called me with a relaxed tone carrying coldness beneath it. Mr. Jian, how do you plan to deal with that fraud Liang? Need us to give him a little lesson? I knew that with Dawn Capital's methods, their little lesson could ruin Blake beyond recovery. I was silent for a moment. Miss Su, thank you. But there is no need for that kind of method against such a person. Oh? What does Mr. Jian mean? The thing he cares about most is his elite persona and reputation. Then destroy that. I said lightly. Serena instantly understood. I understand. Don't worry, Mr. Jian. We will handle this beautifully. A few days later, a deep investigative report was published simultaneously on major Chinese and foreign technology and finance websites. Its headline was explosive, from MIT genius to cross-border fraud, exposing the resume inflation master Blake Liang. Behind the report was Dawn Capital. They hired the best investigative journalists and dug through Blake's entire past. With detailed evidence, the report revealed that his so-called important positions at top Silicon Valley companies were in fact insignificant middle management roles. The successful projects he claimed to have led were projects where he was only one participant, sometimes merely a name attached to the list. His Wall Street connections were completely fabricated. The report also interviewed his former colleagues and supervisors. Everyone confirmed that Blake Liang was someone with high eyes and low ability. A man who talked big and loved stealing credit from others. Most fatal of all, the report exposed the Gu Group scandal, how he used his private relationship with the president to deceive superiors, hide truth from subordinates, and nearly drag the entire company into the abyss with a false theory. The report detonated across the technology and finance circles. Overnight, the name Blake Liang became synonymous with fraud and industry disgrace. His life abroad was also destroyed. No company dared hire him again. The Chinese elite circles he had joined overseas immediately drew clear lines away from him. He went from a respected, returning elite, to a rat everyone wanted to beat. The money he stole was quickly spent. It was said that someone later saw him in a Chinatown abroad, washing dishes in a small restaurant. Ruined reputation. No money. For him, perhaps that was a punishment more cruel than death. Time passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, half a year went by. Under my leadership, new sale technology developed at full speed. Phase 1 of Project Star Sale had been successfully completed and received unanimous praise from the market and industry. My net worth also rose with the company's growth. I moved out of that tiny single apartment into a large Riverview flat downtown. Life finally seemed to return to the track it should have had. Even better than before. One ordinary evening, I was waiting at a traffic light near a shopping mall when I casually turned my head and saw a familiar figure. Vanessa. She stood at the mall entrance, holding several shopping bags, seemingly waiting for a car. She had lost a lot of weight. The arrogance she once had was gone. She wore an ordinary dress and light makeup. She looked like a normal urban office worker. If not for that face I had known for 5 years, I almost would not have recognized her. She seemed to see me too. Saw the logo on the front of my car. Her body visibly stiffened. Instinctively, she wanted to hide. But in the end, she stood still. Our eyes met through the car window. Her gaze was complicated. Embarrassment, resentment, and a trace of indescribable loneliness. The light turned green. I did not stop. I stepped on the accelerator and drove away. In the end, we had already become people from 2 different worlds. A few days later, unexpectedly, I received her call. It was an unknown number. But the moment she spoke, I recognized her voice. It's me. Her voice was calm. No more hysteria. Is something wrong? My tone was equally flat. The other end remained silent for a long time. Did you plan all of this from the beginning? She finally asked the question. In her eyes, I must have been a deeply scheming avenger who planned every step. I leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window of my office, looking out at the countless lights outside. Vanessa, you are wrong. I spoke slowly. I never planned anything. I was pushed to the cliff by you. Then I chose to fight back. What I wanted was never revenge. Nor your money. Nor your company. I only wanted to take back the respect I deserved. The road was chosen by you. Your ending today was caused by you. It has nothing to do with me. After I finished, suppressed sobbing came from the other end. I said nothing more. I silently hung up. That was my final conversation with her. From then on, mountains and rivers stretched between us. We would never meet again. Inside NewSale Technologies' office, the atmosphere was always full of heat and energy. Young engineers argued fiercely before whiteboards over technical plans. Keyboards clattered everywhere. The air was full of life and hope. I liked this atmosphere. Here, there was no complicated office politics. No useless flatterers floating around. Everyone was passionate about technology and working toward the same goal. Mr. Jian, the simulation data for Phase 2 is out. It's even better than expected. Ryan rushed into my office with a report, excitement written all over his face. He was now the CTO of the company. But his fiery personality had not changed at all. I took the report and carefully read each data point. Based on the original Project Star Sale, our team had made large-scale optimization and innovation, introducing more advanced algorithms and architecture. The current plan was even more perfect than what I had created at Goo Group. Good work. I praised sincerely. This is everyone's effort. Ryan scratched his head and grinned. By the way, Mr. Jian, are you really not going to next week's technology summit? This is NewSale Technologies' first public appearance in the industry. What a great opportunity. I shook my head. You represent the company. You are the CTO. For technical matters, you are more suitable than me. But, no buts. I patted his shoulder. I hope NewSale Technologies' label is our technology and products. Not my name, Ethan Jian. I hope every one of you can shine on this platform and become a general who can stand alone. Ryan looked at me with respect and understanding. I understand, Mr. Jian. I will not disappoint you. He left with the report, full of drive. Watching his back, I smiled. After everything I had experienced, I understood more than ever that one person's ability is limited. A successful company does not rely on one savior. It relies on a strong, united team with a shared belief. And my mission now was to build such an invincible team. After the company entered the right track, the first thing I did was bring my parents to live near me. They were ordinary working-class people. Honest and hardworking all their lives. Back then, when I married into a wealthy family, they were not happy. They were full of worry. They always felt that we and the Gu family belonged to different worlds. They feared I would suffer there. Facts proved their worry was right. During my 5-year marriage to Vanessa, the Gu family, including Vanessa, never looked at my parents properly. They thought my parents were poor relatives who embarrassed their wealthy family. At every family gathering, my parents sat uneasily, like two children who had done something wrong. And I, for the so-called harmony of the family, kept persuading them to endure. Looking back now, I was truly unfilial. In the name of the company, I bought another large apartment in my building, just downstairs from mine. I brought my parents over and told them that from now on, this would be their home. My mother stepped into the spacious, bright, luxurious apartment and her eyes reddened instantly. Son, this must cost so much money. Too wasteful. My father stood beside her with a stern face, smoking. But his slightly trembling hand exposed his excitement. Mom, as long as you live comfortably, no amount of money is waste. I held my mother's hand. Before, your son was useless and let you suffer. From now on, that will not happen again. From now on, your son will support you. My mother's tears could no longer be held back. She hugged me and cried like a child. Good, my son has finally made something of himself. That night, my mother personally cooked a table full of dishes I had loved since childhood. The three of us sat together and had a family dinner we had missed for too long. At the table, my father drank a little and spoke more than usual. He patted my shoulder, full of emotion. Ethan, leaving that family was right. A man should have his own career and backbone. I nodded heavily. Looking at the relaxed, heartfelt smiles on my parents' faces, I felt a satisfaction and happiness I had never felt before. I knew that all my struggle and effort had found its warmest meaning at that moment. The official launch conference for Phase 1 of Project Star Sale was arranged at the city's top international convention center. Media crowded inside and outside the venue. Guests gathered from everywhere. The eyes of the entire technology and business world were focused here. As the company's CEO, I should have been the main character of the launch. But I gave that shining opportunity to Ryan and his team. I sat as an ordinary audience member in the first row, alongside Victor Chin and Serena Su. After Dawn Capital failed to recruit me, Serena Sue actually resigned, brought her resources and connections, and joined New Sale Technology as my COO. In her words, she was betting on my future. At the launch, Ryan wore a sharp suit. He was still a little nervous, but in his speech and movements, he already carried the air of a leader. On behalf of the team, he introduced Project Star Sale's technical highlights and application prospects in detail. When he announced that Project Star Sale's core energy conversion rate had broken through 95% and set a new industry record, applause lasted for a long time. It was a great achievement, one that could change the entire new energy landscape. At the end of the launch, Victor Cheen went on stage as the investor representative. He did not say many polite words. He only took the microphone and looked at me. Today, we have witnessed the birth of a miracle. But I want to say this miracle was not accidental. Here, I want to thank one person in particular. He is the true soul and creator of Project Star Sale. With vision, wisdom, and perseverance, he led the team and turned an impossible dream into reality. He is the CEO of New Sale Technology, Mr. Ethan Jian. All spotlights in the venue instantly fell on me. Every camera, every gaze, all focused on me. Applause surged like a tide. I stood and bowed deeply to the stage and to everyone. At that moment, every grievance, unwillingness, and struggle vanished. What replaced them was endless emotion and pride. With my own strength, I had taken back everything I lost. And I had stepped onto a higher, brighter stage. After the launch, the company held a grand celebration banquet. I did not stay long. I left early and returned to my empty office. I liked staying there alone late at night, thinking about the future. The office door opened softly. It was Serena Sue. She came in holding 2 glasses of red wine. I knew you would be here. She handed one glass to me and leaned against the floor-to-ceiling window, standing beside me. Why aren't you enjoying the joy of victory? Why hide here alone? She swirled the wine and smiled at me. I took a sip and looked at the dazzling night beyond the window. I'm not hiding. I just prefer quiet over the noise of a celebration banquet. Is that so? Serena's gaze carried a trace of exploration. I think you are looking back. Looking back on this half-year path of reversal that was more dramatic than a movie. I smiled and said nothing. To be honest, Ethan Jian. Serena suddenly turned serious. I have seen many excellent people. But someone like you is the first. In desperation, you did not complain or sink. You laid out the pieces calmly and fought back precisely. Every step was shocking, yet just right. I'm curious. What supported you through all of it? What supported me? I asked myself. Hatred? Perhaps a little. Ambition? Perhaps that too. But more than anything, it was probably unwillingness. Unwillingness to have my talent buried. Unwillingness to have my dignity trampled. Unwillingness to have my life defined by others. Maybe I just wanted to prove one thing. I said slowly. Prove what? That I, Ethan Jian, am not anyone's attachment. I am myself. Serena looked at me quietly. After a long time, she lifted her glass. To you. I lifted mine and lightly clinked it against hers. And to our shared future. We looked at each other and smiled, then drank. Outside the window were the lights of the entire city. I knew that the light belonging to me had only just been lit. 1 year later, New Sale Technology successfully listed on Nasdaq. Its market value broke $100 billion, making it the brightest new star in the global new energy field. Project Star Sale was no longer merely a project name. It had become a symbol of an era, deeply changing people's lives. As the creator of all this, I appeared on the covers of major financial magazines. In sharp contrast was the decline of GU Group. After multiple failed restructuring attempts, GU Group ultimately failed to survive. It was acquired by a real estate company at an extremely low price and disappeared from the business world. After the acquisition, Howard GU completely withdrew. He took his wife and moved to a small city where no one knew them, living out the rest of their days quietly. The changes of the world made people sigh. One ordinary afternoon, I was handling documents in my office when my phone received a text message from an unknown number. The content was very simple. Only a few words. Congratulations to you. And congratulations to me, for finally being free. I looked at it and knew it was from Vanessa. After losing everything, perhaps she had finally learned to make peace with herself and the past. Freedom. For her, it meant breaking away from the chains of family and vanity. For me, it meant achieving independence of character and the brilliance of my career. We had both gained our growth through cruel means. I did not reply. I silently deleted the message and the number together. Then I stood and walked to the huge floor-to-ceiling window. The sunset dyed the entire city in warm gold. In the distance, the city power grid supported by Project Starsail wound through the skyline like golden dragons, sending light and energy to countless homes. I looked at the landscape I had helped change with my own hands. My heart was peaceful. Everything in the past was only a prologue. And my future was the stars. And the sea. That's all for today's story. Remember to subscribe and leave a comment.